fast forward from 2016 to now in 2024. Where do you guys live? Any properties you have purchased and sold? Is that your first home? And how you are looking at establishing yourself in Australia now?
Great question. So we came in 2016. We are staying in Point Cook right now. It's our owned home, primary place of residence.
Yeah.
It's of course on a mortgage. We bought this house in 2019.
Yeah.
We moved into this property in October 2019.
Yeah.
So this isn't our first property in our property journey. When we were in India in 2013, we had bought an apartment under construction in Delhi NCR area. And our life lesson from that apartment was, for us, we would never buy something that's under construction. Like we had burnt our fingers at that point of time. So we were very confident that that's one thing we'll never sign up for, like a house or house and land package or an under construction property or buying a land or thinking of constructing something. No, that's probably not for us. So we knew that whenever we want to buy a house, we want something that we can get the keys day one and start staying in that and pay the EMI for the property in which we are staying, not pay a rent and an EMI, which you inadvertently do if you're buying something that's under construction. So we were very confident to do that. 2019 was the time we started thinking, okay, we've got a pool of savings, let's start buying a house.
Yeah.
I think every migrant that comes here comes with certain dreams, like getting a job, cracking a 6-figure role, buying a house, progressing your family. If you're single, you want to get married. If you're married, you want to have kids. If you've got kids, you're like, kids should become professionals or whatnot. So the typical migrant dreams, as I say. So we were like, all right, it's time to buy a house. We've got savings. Let's see how much we can stretch. So consulted a mortgage broker. So we knew what our purchasing power was like. We were renting in Point Cook at that point of time. We have stayed in western suburbs in Melbourne because that was affordable. We were never influenced by the glorified eastern suburbs. I think it just
that is controversial topic.
There's pros and cons, but we like the vibrant feel of the western suburbs. And most people I speak to tend to buy where they've rented or they've stayed because that brings that comfort or
familiarity. You like the suburb.
Correct.
Your experience of the
area. You don't want to buy in an unknown suburb where you've got no idea what's going to happen next. So we were like, let's buy in Point Cook.
For a primary property, that is.
Where you want to stay and bring your family up. So we're like, let's buy in Point Cook. We started looking at properties. So we're looking at properties. Our budget was in the sweet spot of 600,000 at that point. And whatever we were seeing was on the higher side of that. 650, 700. Most properties are around 680, 700, 750, 4-bedroom house and whatnot. So we were a little bit disillusioned also, like it's expensive, we'll have to stretch our budget and do that. But then we were like, house buying is hard, you have to rip the band-aid off and if you like something, grab it. If you feel happy, if the numbers are stacking up, if you can pay that EMI. Of course, interest rates were low at that point of time. Story. Completely different game these days. But luckily the house we bought, so we made an offer on the house that we've got. And funnily, like you wouldn't imagine, that house needed a lot of work to make it ready to stay. So I think the good thing that worked in our favor, we were the only family who did an inspection who could see the end product after doing all that work. Everybody else would have backed out just seeing the condition of the house.
And in the inspection when we went there were around 10 families. And they were all like, no. But we could see that it's all just, something that we can do, like we can cosmetic stuff.
Like we knew the internal structure, like they say, the bones of the house should be strong. So when we got the building and pest inspection done, the guy came and said, like, property is rock solid, the structure is perfect, no dramas with anything, no nothing. Everything that he could see was cosmetic stuff and part of like wear and tear or other like domestic stuff, but nothing that couldn't be fixed. So we were confident that okay, we'll need to do a couple of trades and stuff. We did heap of DIY. You ask me anything at that time, 2019, Bunnings, I knew every single aisle. They didn't have an app at that point of time, but I could tell you with my eyes shut where you can find what in the hardware store. So when we bought that house, we committed to that house, we got accepted, that got settled, we got the keys on 1st of October, and we went to that house, we looked at that house again for like the second or the third time. We were like, oh my god, we didn't anticipate we'll get this property and now we have to do all these things in this property. Settlement had happened, so our bank accounts were literally empty. All our savings were gone in the deposit and stuff.
We
had to take an LMI. So we were like, we took the LMI. We put a 10% deposit.
Yeah, makes sense.
We only knew that concept. Had I known more about the numbers, we would have rejigged the numbers a bit more.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, let's do a couple of things ourselves, couple of things we'll hire. So anything that requires a licensed trade, like electrician, plumber, and some of the other stuff, we hired trades, flooring, carpeting stuff. We painted the house.
Yep.
So
the whole house.
the whole house.
Including the roof.
Mind
you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
That's a
goodness.
tough bit.
And I'm not well built. I'm a very lean guy. Imagine me doing that paint roller stuff. Oh, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So we didn't have much balance left in the account. So we're like, okay, we'll have to do some things ourselves, some things we'll hire trades. So painting was one thing we thought, okay, let's give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? We were gutting all the carpet and flooring, getting fresh flooring done. So we knew that if we make a mess, the flooring guy is gonna change the flooring as it is. So like, we don't need to do that much of site prep in that sense. But we didn't anticipate the hard work. So we got greedy. We got the biggest paint roller from Bunnings, the biggest paint trays, like 15-20 liter paint buckets and everything. Put all of that in the garage. Day one when we start painting, this big paint roller, you drenched it in the paint. Oh,
It got so heavy.
It's heavier than a dumbbell. I didn't anticipate that. So I'm on the step ladder. I'm doing this.
Learning
5 minutes. This hand was this thick. But we motored through. We realized our mistakes. Went back to Bunnings, bought smaller rollers that we could easily manage. So you learn from your mistakes. So long story short, did a lot of work in that house. Very happy with that place.
It's turned out to be a beautiful house.
The real estate agent who sold that house, we invited him a couple of months later, and his mouth was open. He was like,
what did you do?
What have you done with the house?
Yeah.
Like, it looks amazing. Every single person who's walked into that house has had their mouth open and they've been amazed by the amount of work. And then when we show them the before and after pics, it's a completely different house now.
You actually purchased something which was not market ready, probably. A lot of people were looking at it as a risk. And you bought something under value and you have added value to it.
Okay.
So that's
Absolutely.
a mindset.
That was a mindset, and that was a game changer for us as well, because neither of us came from a trade background or knowledge of how things are done in that space. But I was always enthusiastic in the sense in terms of doing DIY stuff from Bunnings. Like I always like to tinker with things. In India, I had like a lot of tools and stuff. So when I came here, I didn't have anything. So the first time when we were shifting rentals, we needed a removalist. When you ask removalist and you see their billing rates, you realize that you need to get furniture disassembled, like beds and stuff. You're paying the same amount to the removalist. For that amount, I bought a drill set from Bunnings. So that was my first tool, electric drill, disassembled the bed and everything. I asked the removalist that, can I do that? He said, yeah, you can do whatever you want. We have got, this is the hourly rate we'll charge. It was an expensive removalist, but taught us a lot, like in that sense, like how much we can pre-plan and pre-pack to make their lives easier and minimize damage and stuff. So
I used the drill as well.
our bed that we bought in this new house, Roshni and we assembled it together. So she was the one who was using the drill and assembling all the slats and everything. She did that. That was the first.
Perfect.
What was the difference between the investment that you have done in India under construction? I think there are too many people relate to that thing as well because they face the similar issues in Australia. So can you please shed some light on that project?
Sure.
Where you invested in India?
I'll tell you a little bit about my India investment. So we bought that apartment in 2013. It was under construction with a big builder in the Delhi NCR corridor.
Yeah.
And so everybody said that that's a safe investment. That big builder had like cement factories, electric power plants. Yeah. But the builder bankrupted their real estate company after we bought the apartment. So the apartment was under construction. Yeah. The structure was ready. We were paying installments. It was a construction linked plan, a CLP. Yeah. So because the structure was ready, they had taken 80% of the payments.
All right.
And then the work stopped. No labor at site. So we were supposed to be given that apartment in 3 years. When we were about to migrate here in 2016, it was still the structure. Nothing else had happened.
Okay.
Couple of years back as well, it's still in the same situation. It hasn't moved on. It's stuck in litigation in India.
Okay.
So our lesson from an under construction property was we don't trust anyone. Seeing the landscape in Australia, the way builders are getting bankrupted, the cost of construction has grown more than twice what it used to be. We were like, house and land packages, we don't understand. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's a personal choice. But for us, even if the government gives us a lot of grant money, $20,000, $50,000, it doesn't matter. Because that
grant gets woven into the price of what you're
That's
buying.
right. Yeah.
And then if we are not assured that we're going to get that asset
Yeah.
in X number of years,
Yeah.
then that's sunk money. What will
Yeah.
you do? You can't be stuck in litigation and
That's
get your
right.
monies out.
Yes.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
There's plenty of examples of builders and construction
Even in
companies
Australia,
going
there are
bankrupt.
too many sort of big builders. Those got bankrupt. Yes.
A very recent example was
Yes.
This is in similar boat.
Yes.
Like our example, a big brand. They were
Yeah.
like one of the top 4, top 5. No one
Yeah.
thought they'll go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And imagine people have put their life savings in a house and
That's
land
right.
package. And even if half the work is done, you can't go and stay there. You
Yeah.
need the work to get completed. You need that occupancy to happen.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out. Like for people who are stuck in
That's
that
right.
port,
Yes.
I would not make
Because
that
people
mistake.
save their like hard-earned money for years and years for the
Absolutely.
deposit, and all of a sudden
And
this
they
happens.
start dreaming about that property. They
Yeah.
start visualizing that this is where
Customized
we're
in
going
your
to
way.
have
Yeah.
our property. And
Designed with the floor plan that you
I'll
want.
tell you a thing that's going on with our friend.
Yeah.
They bought a land and house package. They wanted a 2-story house.
Yeah.
And they had to get permission of the council and the neighbors that if they can build a 2-story house.
It's not a new estate. It's an established area.
It's an established area, so they got the permission from the neighbors. They were fine with it.
Yeah.
Now the council has rejected that,
Wow.
so they can't build a 2-story house. So it's just a single floor in a small land now.
Oh my God. Okay.
And
a lot of
imagine
surprises on
a
the
lot
way.
of surprises
And a lot
along
of
the way.
surprises. So,
So-
anything can happen. Like
So our learning from India was we won't buy something that we can't go and stay in.
Yeah.
Like why not just buy something, even a smaller house, even a smaller piece of real estate in which you can stay the day one you get the keys.
Yeah.
So that the day one it gets settled, something
Yeah.
that you can stay in.
That's
And
right.
I'll tell you the reason.
Yeah.
You don't want to be paying an EMI for that asset, whether it be a house and land, whether
That's
it be a
right.
land purchase
Yeah.
on which you're
Yeah.
constructing, and you're paying your rent because you can't stay there until something is a finished product.
Yeah.
Or you can't rent it out until it's a finished product.
That's right.
Why pay 2 EMIs? And
Yeah.
this is a Australian dollar EMI.
Yes.
It's not a small amount that
Yes.
you're like, okay, it's like my phone bill.
Yeah.
I can tolerate $100-$200 a month.
Yeah.
No, man, that's
Yeah.
not what's gonna be.
Yeah.
Consider the interest rates.
That's
You know,
true.
it's not a joke.
And you don't anticipate sort of how long it will take to finish.
Correct. And no builder is safe.
Yeah.
If you look at the big builders, look at the small, look at the custom builders,
Yeah.
I won't touch them with a long pole.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider, you don't know how good or bad situation they're in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm not
Yeah.
judging them. I'm just saying
Yeah.
there's nothing is safe in today's world because you don't know what their balance sheet looks like and whether they're going to survive or not.